Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in. I'm going to take this video and talk about Ted Rechlin's new dinosaur graphic novel called T-Rex Generations. There's not going to be any spoilers, so you don't have to tune out now. But I want to talk a little bit about his book series first. This is actually one of just a bunch of dinosaur-related and other wildlife-related books that he puts out. He's done another one called Tyrannosaurus Rex, and another one called you know what that one's about. He's got another one called Jurassic, which is about a sauropod. I did get a review copy for that one as well. It was amazing. I totally recommend his books. He also does other wildlife. He's either got them out already or has them coming up. There's a bear, sharks, wolf, I think is coming out next year. He's a really great artist. I love his art style. But focusing back on T-Rex Generations here, I did get a review copy from his publisher to check out. The first thing I noticed is just how solidly built this book is. It's really thick for a hardcover. It's got a wonderful glossy cover to it. The colors are just awesome on the front. You get a real kind of Lion King vibe. When you open it up, the pages are very thick. Actually, when I first started reading it, I thought I was skipping pages because of how thick it was. It's a really, really solid book, construction-wise, and story-wise too, but we'll get to that in a second. T-Rex Generations is actually the sequel to Tyrannosaurus Rex that I mentioned earlier, but you don't have to read the first one to follow the second one. They're completely separate stories. I asked him that on Twitter myself, and he confirmed that, so you don't need to get the other one, although it's probably a good deal. I haven't read it yet, but I certainly plan to after reading this one, because this one was great. The book itself was actually written by him and illustrated by him. I've got it here. You can hear the creaking book maybe. But it was written and illustrated by him and edited by his wife. And family is kind of a big thing, I think, with this book. It's written by a family, him and his wife, and it's obviously about a family of Tyrannosaurus Rexes. And I think it's made to hold up for all the family. I mean, you could tear the pages, but you're going to have to work at it. You don't have to baby them. They're nice, thick. I don't know if it's because of the amount of ink or type of ink, or I don't know, I'm not a publisher. But they're nice, thick pages. You can turn them and not worry about tearing anything. It's really good. As for the story basically follows from pretty much birth into towards adulthood of 4 baby Tyrannosaurus, as he calls them, fat birds. I think it's pretty good. The first few pages, you get to see all the baby Tyrannosaur chicks looking exactly like little fluffy fat birds. It's pretty hilarious, actually. And the book just takes them from eggs to maturity, and the different trials and travails as they just try to survive, really. Nature's full of all kinds of nasty things. You have, well, I don't really want to give away too many spoilers, but nature's got lots of ugly surprises for wild animals, and this book kind of takes you through some of that. And it's really not what you think, just the predators too. Some of their herbivores are pretty nasty. I don't want to spoil too much and tell you too much of the story, but there's some heartfelt moments that'll tug at your heartstrings, and then there's just some other moments where you're like, oh man, you just get emotionally invested. It's a really good book. I saw the Call of the Wild. Was it the Call of the Wild? No, it was White Fang, part of Call of the Wild, but saw that on Netflix recently, and as I was reading this book, that's the kind of feeling I got, a kind of a life is tough story. There's good and there's bad, but in the end you gotta move on. That's just the kind of vibe from this book. I like the ending, and it's not really a spoiler when I say this, so don't panic, but it sets it up for about 3 different sequels, really. At least. There's a point in here where you see exactly why it's called Generations. And I think that's a pretty cool moment in the book. I was kind of surprised at one point, just so much had happened after I had read through. And it was just like, oh my gosh, are these guys even going to make it? And then I just kind of glanced down at how many pages were left, and I still had more than half the book to go. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to finish this, but in a good way. It was super easy to read. Just sat it down and read it in one sitting. I got so intense there towards the end that I was reading it. I was down to my last 2 pages, and he has this final scene cooked up, and just as I hit that scene, my wife comes in and just mentions something to me, and it was felt just like for a moment like someone had just interrupted a great movie. I mean, it was just locks you in just like TV. It's really well told. It's a great book. Ted Rechlin, T-Rex Generations. It's definitely not a fairy tale book where everything is always happy. So you know, I don't want to call it dark per se. I wouldn't say it's as dark if you've seen that Netflix White Fang. It's not quite as dark as that, but it will definitely entertain an adult. So if you're looking for a gift for somebody that has everything and they like dinosaurs, get them this, because they don't have this yet. It just came out. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. If you haven't already, stomp on that subscribe button. Take a swipe at the thumbs up button. And if you have any questions about the book that aren't spoilery, I'll be glad to answer them in the comments below. Otherwise, if you actually end up picking the book up, let me know what you think. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.